Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, brought to you by BetDSI, and I'm your host, Mitchell Renz. Please give me a follow on Twitter at MitchellRenz365 for all your latest Raiders news and rumors. First news bit I got coming up here on the board, I'm going to give a little bit of congratulations to Derek Carr. Why am I giving congratulations to Carr? Carr's been playing really well, and he had a great game this past week against the Kansas City Chiefs, but he also did two amazing things. First, he had the second most pass completions in his first 5 years with 1,670, only behind Peyton Manning, who will be in the Hall of Fame. And then he's got the second most passing yards in Raiders history behind only Ken Stabler. But let's look at Derek Carr's Week 13 stats against the Chiefs. 29 of 38, 285 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He hasn't thrown an interception since Week 5. He's been an absolute, I think, very reliable quarterback in terms of reliability the last few weeks, and he's been a big part of the reason why, heck, the Raiders even stayed in that game against the Chiefs. But I said he is now second all-time in passing yards in Raiders history, which is pretty amazing considering, again, it's only his 5th year. But he's behind Ken Stabler there, 19,078. Derek Carr then 17,802. Rich Gannon, Daryl LaMonica. So, Raider Nation, I want to know from you, who is the Raiders' greatest quarterback ever? I'm not going to say Derek because, well, he hasn't played the longevity. I'm probably still going to go with Ken Stabler because you guys are always hitting me up in my comments saying, Mitch, it's Ken. But I still ultimately want to know from you, so please comment below. Who is the Raiders' greatest quarterback ever? Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and I'm your host, Mitchell Renz. I'm pumping out a whole bunch of new content that you can only see in one spot. Guess where it is? It's right down here at that link below, youtube.com/Raiders Report. Tell all your Raiders fans, heck, tell the family, tell that random homeless guy that hits you up every day. Tell him, youtube.com/Raiders Report. Next news bit coming up here. It's Jared Cook, and I think Jared Cook deserves a little bit more love because he is setting career highs left and right, and I love seeing this because Jared Cook has just been an absolute monster this year for the Oakland Raiders. So he set a career high in yards and touchdowns this past week against the Chiefs. He finally eclipsed the 700-yard mark, and he finally eclipsed his 6 touchdowns for his career. So this past week against the Chiefs, 8 targets, 7 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown, and was just, you could definitely tell he's been the go-to guy for Carr all season long, especially when you're considering he leads the team in targets with 78, 54 catches. He's on pace right now to lead the team in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. He's been just the absolute go-to guy for Derek Carr all season long. So, I want to know from you, should Jared Cook make the Pro Bowl? I want you to type Y for yes or type N for no. I'm typing my Y for yes, and it's easy for me. Jared Cook has been a top 5 tight end in fantasy football, real-life football. It didn't matter that the Raiders are 2-10 this year. Jared Cook, you deserve to go to the Pro Bowl. You're getting my vote there, so I'm typing Y for yes. Last news bit coming up here. The Oakland Raiders have officially been eliminated from the playoffs, and you guys are like, yeah, Mitch, no shit. Well, it's actually official now. So, with the 40-33 loss to the Chiefs this past week, the Raiders have officially been eliminated from the playoffs. They are the only team in the AFC to be eliminated, but I'm sure there's going to be a few more teams that be joining them. And the last time that the Raiders made the playoffs was 2016. I said last week on the Raiders Report that I think the Raiders will make the playoffs in 2020. So, fingers crossed that I got a perfect vision, 2020. Get it? No? Hopefully. Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, brought to you by BetDSI. Remember, Facebook.com/JustWin. Raiders Baby is where you can find our show on Facebook. Now, if you're new to the show, you're going to need to understand my Raider rumor scale. 0 Chucky heads, tuck rule, tuck that. This rumor, not going to happen. 1 Chucky head is a small shred of truth. I like to think 25% chance of happening. 2 Chucky heads, people are talking 50-50. 3 Chucky heads is pretty likely 75% chance of happening. And then 4 Chucky heads, believe it, baby. 100% this rumor is going to happen. First rumor up here on the board. The Raiders have the number 2 pick in the NFL draft right now. This one's for Chucky heads, believe it, baby. Because guess what? They do. With the Cardinals ended up beating the Packers 20-17 this past week, the Oakland Raiders were able to move up from 3 to 2. Now, they are currently only behind the 49ers, who do hold the number 1 pick. And if you look down there at the very bottom, the 49ers weeks 14-17, it's not really easy. It's the Broncos, it's the Seahawks, it's the Bears, it's the Rams. That's a pretty tough schedule. I want the 49ers to be able to pull one out, but I just don't quite know. So, Right here's the 2019 NFL draft order if it started today. The 49ers, first overall pick, sitting there at 2-10. The Raiders also at 2-10. Then it's Cardinals at 4, Lions at 5, and then the Jets are sitting there at 3. So, will the Raiders have the number 1 pick in the 2019 draft? I want you to say yes or no. Give me a heart. Give me a thumbs up. Will the Raiders have the number 1 pick in the 2019 draft? I'm hoping, because I really want me some Nick Bosa on the football field, not in any other sexual way. All right, next rumor coming up here on the board. Are we drafting Clelin Ferrell? This is a rumor coming out from Fansided, and it's been Ferrell, it's Ferrell, where there's a bunch of different pronunciations. I'm giving this one 2 Chucky heads, and people are talking. The Raiders have literally no pass rush this season. We all know that. And Ferrell is one of the best edge rushers in college football. He and the rest of the elite defensive line at Clemson is the reason they're headed to their 3rd consecutive college football playoff. And with the Raiders, he would literally just be a great force in the middle with Art and Keeb to give the Raiders a solid young tandem at defensive end position for multiple years to come. So, if he's on the board, would you draft him? Or potentially are we going to draft somebody else? Now, who should the Raiders draft 2nd overall? If Nick Bosa's sitting there, I'm literally going to run up to the stage and grab Bosa with my arms and say, hey, man, you coming to the Raider Nation. But if he's not there, I want to know, who should the Raiders draft number 2 overall? I'm going to be watching the Raiders all next year because I am hoping it's going to be a lot better this year. And there's only one place to do if you want to bet on Raiders games. It's at BetDSI. You're going to go to chatsports.com/bet. Remember to use that promo code LIVE120 for a 120% deposit bonus. Mitch, what does that mean? You put down $100, you get $120 for free. If you're a big baller, put down $500, get $600 for free. Shout out to BetDSI for hooking us up with the best promo code on the internet. Next rumor coming up here on the board. Jon Gruden doesn't know the rules, and this one's kind of funny. I am poking a little bit of fun at Jon Gruden. I'm going to give this one Chucky head, and I think there's a small shred of truth in. Now, I think Jon Gruden knows the rules of football. When you've been around football as long as he has, I think that you know the rules. But with only 7 seconds remaining in the first half, Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes connected with tight end Travis Kelce for a touchdown. Why is this an issue? Well, it's an issue because Jon Gruden threw a challenge flag, but it was an illegal challenge that cost the Raiders a timeout because there was less than 2 minutes in the half. You can't throw a challenge flag with less than 2 minutes in the half. I don't know how many people knew that, but when you look at just overall Jon Gruden's entire coaching career, he's been in the league for 12 years, 97 and 91. He does have a Super Bowl ring. So I think Jon Gruden knows the rules. Maybe he was just having a little bit of a brain fart. I think we all have a brain fart here and there. No? Okay. Next rumor coming up here on the board, Karl Joseph. Is he a keeper? And what do I mean by this? Well, he hasn't quite been, I think, everything that the Raiders were hoping for when they drafted him at 2016 in the first round. So, I'm going to give this one 2 Chucky heads, and I think people are talking, and people who are talking are The Athletic. The Athletic came out and said that the Raiders are potentially thinking about keeping Karl Joseph, and there's been rumors that he's going to get cut because he just hasn't quite lived up to his expectations. But when you just look at Karl Joseph's, I'll say, work just the last few weeks, he's been playing a lot better. He's finally been making more tackles. He's been better in coverage. Now in 2019, his base salary is $2 million, but if the Raiders cut him, it will still be a $3.7 million against the cap. So I want to know from you, should the Raiders keep Karl Joseph next year? I want you to type K for keep or type C for cut. Okay, Raider Nation, simple enough. Next rumor coming up here on the board, Devin Funchess is going to be a Raider in 2019. If you don't know who Devin Funchess is, probably a good thing, because I don't think he's very good. So I'm giving this one only 1 Chucky head, and I think there's a small shred of truth, because I guess I just don't want Devin Funchess in a Raiders uniform. I think he might say that he's a wide receiver, but I think he's a glorified tight end. Now, he has had 4 years of NFL experience, and he is only 24 years old, which I do like to see. 6'4", 225, and he could be a big red zone target for the Oakland Raiders. But he just, I don't really think is all that special. Here are his season stats. 71 targets, 42 catches, 526 yards, and 4 touchdowns. It's okay, but considering the fact, I think, of when you look at Funchess at 6'4", 225, the dude runs like Antonio Gates. And, not the good Antonio Gates. 39 years old Antonio Gates. So, I don't want Devin. That's why I gave it 1 Chucky head. So, I got a little bit of trivia for you, though. Let's see how smart you are, and maybe let's see how much chat sports stuff you watch. Where did Devin Funchess go to college? I want you to comment below, or you can DM me on Twitter at MitchellRenz365. since I said Devin Funchess doesn't look good, we should probably get him some Mizzen and Main because I think I look pretty good at Mizzen and Main. And if you guys want to wear some Mizzen, go to comfortable.af. And Mitch, why is it comfortable.af? Because these shirts are indeed comfortable as F. Last rumor coming up here on the board is around probably the biggest free agent this offseason. It's Le'Veon Bell. And is he going to be an Oakland Raider in 2019? Dramatic pause. I'm going to give this one Chucky head, and I think that this is a small shred of truth. Now, he does have the highest odds to sign with the Oakland Raiders, according to BetDSI. And he did skip his 2018 season because he wants a large contract. And even though he's going to be the best free agent to some this offseason, I still don't know if the Raiders should ultimately go out and get him. Now, Clutch Points did come out and say that, hey, he could potentially be like a perfect fit for the Raiders, and BetDSI agrees. So you can see up here on the board, he has the highest odds to sign with the Raiders at plus 300, according to BetDSI. And then it's the Eagles at plus 400, the Packers at 650, the Colts at 750. He's actually already tweeted to the Colts a pretty interesting picture of him wearing some Colts gear, so maybe that's where I would put my money. And then also the Houston Texans at plus 1,000. But Lamar Miller has actually looked pretty good these last few weeks. So I said that he wants to be paid. And that's my biggest issue. I don't know if Gruden's going to put all that money into Le'Veon Bell because he wants to be paid like the top two guys on this list, Todd Gurley and David Johnson. And I think Le'Veon Bell is an unbelievably talented running back, but James Conner has literally just stepped right on in and been just as productive. He scored more touchdowns this past year, and I think Le'Veon is a good running back, but let's give a little bit more credit to Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, and that awesome offensive line. So I want to know from you, would you want the Raiders to sign Le'Veon Bell? Give me a wow face for yes, give me a laughing face for no, or just comment below, yes or no. Raider Nation, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in to the Raiders Report. My name is Mitchell Renz. Please follow me on Twitter at MitchellRenz365, and I'm going to be having another video coming up in just a few hours.